Hey, good afternoon. My name is Nirmeet DPS. I'm a business development executive for Avnet Technology Solutions in our EMC and VCE business aligned to the Mid-Atlantic area. I actually cover from New Jersey down through the Carolinas, and I'm going to be talking to you today about data protection and data protection everywhere, and why this has become such a key phrase in the industry. So we're really talking about all the different models of why data protection and how data protection is important is leading a lot of discussions at IT organizations, and as well as with suppliers and manufacturers across the IT technology supply chain, right? And so what is really causing this? And it's really about the transformation to the digital universe. It's a very rapid, expanding, ubiquitous world where it's actually going to zettabytes of data. So in a recent article that was done by IDC, they actually talked about by the year 2020 of having 44 zettabytes of data that are actually going to be out there in the IT environment and world. What does that mean? What does 44 zettabytes really mean? What does that actually consist of? 44 trillion gigabytes. But if you look at it at the core level, at the bit level, that 44 zettabytes actually represents more stars than there are in the known universe today. So just phenomenal and even incomprehensible amounts of data, and how do customers and all of us make sense and actually protect that data, because at the end of the day, data is a true asset to an organization and where they're going for transformation in the future, right? So in that same article, it actually also talked about 51% of those respondents to that article said, hey, I have no idea and don't know what I'm doing or have a plan or strategy with all of my data and data protection needs. And there is no true strategy around it today. So 51% of those respondents in that article had that to say about their data protection requirements today. You couple that with, hey, those same respondents and corporations everywhere, they're actually seeing about a $1.7 trillion loss in data and data loss, as well as downtime of applications, and what some of the challenges are in that environment today, right? So that even doubles the need for this data protection everywhere type of scenario, or triples or quadruples those requirements. And also at the same time, about 58% of those respondents also said that, hey, I've lost data somewhere in a cloud application or through in the cloud, and I have no idea who, when, where, or why that data was lost. I just know I've lost that data. So how does this get addressed with this kind of complexity? All at the same time, you have customers that are really looking for the consumption model of IT, where the lines of business or the application owners really want to have control, flexibility, and they also want to have visibility to all of their data all the time, and when they need to make sure that they keep up and running their application environments. So it's all being all at one time being bombarded onto the IT customers, as well as the IT departments of organizations, right? They need all these things, and their end user clients, the internal end user clients, are expecting all of these to have that flexibility and control that they're seeking in their applications, because it's all about time to market for those applications. So the bigger part of this is really kind of understanding where EMC really kind of helps differentiate themselves against every other supplier and manufacturer out there when it comes to data protection solutions. And it really starts at the protection storage level, right? You have this concept of the protection storage, where in the old days and traditional ways, it was really, hey, you set up a backup server, and you have your own primary storage and protection storage, whether that was tape or other sorts of disk backup solutions and things. But it really depends these days on that application and what that application means to the lines of business. Is it a critical core application that has to have continuous availability and runtime and is always available? Or is it just a really true deep archive type of requirement, which is at the other end of the continuum, to really see what level of SLA, service level agreement, or RTO and RPO is really needed for that storage, right? So if we look at that continuum, it really goes across the entire organization from an RTO and RPO perspective. RTO and RPO perspective, right? So if you really look at that, you got on the far left here, continuous availability, right? So you always have and always need that application to be running no matter what, and if it goes down, you're in trouble. Now, people might not think email is a mission critical application, but how many of your team members or end customer folks will say, hey, if I don't have my email up and running all the time, I am out of business, because I have customers and suppliers responding and talking to me via email almost 24/7 these days, right? So those are types of applications that we need to start thinking of as we move into this digital world, that are consumed differently, as well as what their data protection requirements are going to be. You also have replication, right, in this continuum. And that replication is for different locations, multiple sites, multiple locations of availability for that application, just so you have that availability and continuous availability maximized. And then you actually also have your snaps and mirroring, right? So you do have a version of that software or that application that's available via a snap and mirror. And then you also have your traditional backup. Obviously no more tape backup, which I don't know if there's still tape out there, but really moving to disk drive backup and even cloud backup locations, right? And then obviously finally on that continuum to the far right is archive. So deep archive, where it needs to be protected, it needs to be accessed when it's accessed, but doesn't need to be up and running continuously or all the time. You need a long retention period for it. Think of healthcare and medical imaging or other types of healthcare requirements where they need really long archive requirements on that data. So where does that really lead to? And where does EMC fit into this continuum? I'll tell you that EMC is probably the only and very uniquely positioned manufacturer for data protection solutions, because they really fit into that entire continuum. And really, it's based on the fact that these applications and software environments have changed to the consumption models that are now taking place. Traditionally, it all used to be on-prem, residing in your own facility. People can get access to it and get it and recover it quickly and get it back quickly. But as needs have changed and environments have become virtualized, right? So you have virtualization that's taking place, and applications don't necessarily reside in the four walls of your building anymore. They can be run on infrastructure environments that are virtualized, as well as in the cloud. Public cloud, right, is become a really big player in terms of where applications reside. Think of SaaS applications like Salesforce that are all running in a cloud somewhere, and we consume them as just a software as a service, and born in the cloud applications as well too. Think of social and social media types of sites that are born in a cloud somewhere. And then obviously you have this mixture of hybrid infrastructure where you have public and private clouds, as well as on-premise and off-premise requirements that really run all of this in a way that takes advantage of the existing infrastructure environments that are out there, but also leverages and enables the flexibility and automation and availability of that application in a cloud when business owners and end users really need to access it anywhere on the go. So where does EMC sit with this today? Again, we kind of talked about the old way of doing things with a backup server, managing all of your backup software and applications, going from primary storage over to your protection storage. Well, EMC really kind of changed the game by introducing what is now known as storage integrated data protection. SIDP, right? And what does that mean? That's actually around, hey, I've now got my primary storage or my protection storage, and I've got my primary storage that's sitting out there, and I now have the ability to go directly from my primary storage directly to my protection storage without having to go consume new equipment or even new cloud compute requirements in servers, networking, all those things. It really kind of streamlines the process of being able to consume backup and protection storage without necessarily having to go exponentially increase all of your server requirements and networking requirements, and can talk directly and connect directly with each other. So that's why EMC today is really a game changer, right? Why EMC today? Really, it's around that kind of storage, integrated data protection, and why EMC really is driven the key to the change in how all of data protection is managed. And that's really has led to, because you eliminate that need for servers and networking and a lot of different redundant requirements around it, you get actually 20 times faster access and instant access to your backups, and the backup cycles are 20 times faster. So you have that availability all the time of the consumers of that software, that application. They have the flexibility, the control to get it, access it, and bring it back a lot quicker and faster than what they were normally used to, and it's shown to be about 20 times faster. You also have the elimination of the application impact, meaning the downtime, right? The downtime and the unavailability of those applications is actually reduced significantly. And you have the ability, again, for those folks that are consuming that application at the end user level to really see the continuous availability of it, and it's seamless to them without actually having any interference in their normal day-to-day processes and workflows. And then lastly, it's a support for future growth, right? So you actually have a system and solution that's built on the ability to go support as these data sets grow, as data from clouds and from social and mobile and all those things start coming into play more and more as organizations transform digitally to take advantage of all these data sets to do analytics and do customer service initiatives and new websites for customers. All of this is supported via an infrastructure and availability environment and data protection environment with EMC's portfolio today, right? So that's really kind of the differentiating story that EMC has today over its competition. But really, what are we talking about for tomorrow? Why is this all actually moving to a different way? Because of these consumption models that you have here, right? You have on-premise, off-premise, and hybrid and cloud, and what is that really doing to what is needed for tomorrow? So you move away from necessarily just talking about RTO and RPO, and you really move to a software defined data protection strategy. SDDDP, Software Defined Data Protection Strategy. What does that all mean? What does Software Defined Data Protection Strategy mean? That's really where the EMC of tomorrow comes into play, right? If we actually look at it, with all these different consumption models, what is the differentiator that is going to lead and continue to make EMC the leader in data protection solutions? That's really around flexibility, again, for the application and business line owners, flexibility, control, and automation of these application environments to be able to consume them in any model that fits that application environment, no matter where that application resides. It also has factored into it a federated search and analytics capability in the new EMC portfolio, federated search and analytics, where you can actually search with a single user interface at the application owner level or the end user level for a file set or data set that's been backed up or been replicated somewhere, either on-premise or off-premise or wherever, and type in a simple search, and it'll go search across the entire enterprise continuum to be able to go deliver that data back to that end user quickly, efficiently, and with greater accuracy than you have today in the models today, where you got to go do independent searches in all these different locations and environments and platforms. So that is also a big factor in why the EMC of tomorrow is really differentiating itself in terms of data protection everywhere. And then lastly, you talk about all workloads, all everywhere at all times, right? We talked about the different consumption models. That's really what this is meant for, is the future growth and all applications and all workloads, where no matter where they're managed or where they're actually developed. So that's really kind of the differentiating strategy and vision that EMC has for data protection everywhere. And really kind of, again, going across that continuum of capabilities that meets end customer requirements and needs, and focuses on what is actually important to the end user and to the application and line of business owner. So that's really kind of the overall story and the portfolio of what EMC really has to offer in data protection solutions, and why they've differentiated and continue to differentiate and set themselves apart from all other vendors and manufacturers when it comes to data protection. But let's not take my word for it. Let's actually take a look at maybe a couple of examples, a few examples, where customers that are in that continuum of where they are in their transformation really were able to take advantage of EMC's data protection solutions. So I'll erase this and just kind of really look at a few of the customers that EMC has been able to help in this entire continuum and support with their data protection solution. So if you look at a customer down in Georgia, it was a customer by the name of Fulton County, which was a traditional SLED, very typical, hey, I've got everything on premise, I've got all my stuff, I'm doing tape backups, I've got multiple applications going into those backups, very inefficient way of running things and how they were managing their data protection environment. So with a assessment that took place with that customer in terms of their environment today, where they wanted to go, their growth rates, all of those things, they were actually able to utilize EMC's data domain and Avamar and Networker solutions as single suite of solutions on the DPS suite of products, to be able to go take advantage of having your backup software, your move and kind of acceleration of that data out, as well as to a very defined and purpose-built application or purpose-built appliance for backup and data domain. So what they really saw with that putting that solution into play was obviously they eliminated tape, right? So no more tape. That was actually a huge cost savings, and from a management perspective, having to send tapes off-site and manage them with folks like Iron Mountain and those guys, it really helped reduce their overall costs in what they were doing from a backup perspective. they actually saw a 90% faster backup window, as well as accessibility to that backup when they put these solutions in play, right? So instead of having to go into deep tape and deep archive, they were actually able to get the backups completed a lot faster, which took up less infrastructure needs, which took up less networking needs, and actually positioned the company for future growth without having to go invest in a lot of different requirements around backup and backup solutions and data protection solutions. So that was a case study that was done with EMC and with this customer out of Georgia, Fulton County. The next customer is actually a customer called Loomis. They're a international money house that actually helps support and clears money out to banks and other money organizations or folks that handle money internationally. So they've got over 200 locations, and they were having a lot of issues actually managing their Microsoft SQL databases and protecting those SQL databases and Exchange databases, and really kind of had leveraged a legacy tape environment to be able to go support all of this all the issues and that they were having on the Microsoft SQL database and Exchange data protection requirements. So when they actually put into place data protection solutions from EMC, leveraging replication, leveraging snaps, as well as continuous availability and those types of things, what they actually saw was their database backups were actually completed and were reduced by about 75% in terms of capacity needed to manage those backups because of things like encryption and deduplication that's available, and they were actually able to reduce the overall infrastructure requirements needed to manage that data, which again obviously had cost savings associated with it. You don't need as much to go manage less data and protect less data. And then it also eliminated the traditional needs of having servers and networking and other equipment needed to manage in the traditional, hey, I've got a backup server running from primary storage over to backup storage. All of those additional infrastructure cost requirements were also reduced with putting those EMC solutions in place. And then finally, we'll look at a company called Clark Construction. So Clark Construction is a international company. Really, they are well respected in their area for doing civil construction and building and construction, but they ran all of their business and a lot of their data and a lot of their email and those types of things on Google Apps. Again, a born in the cloud, that kind of cloud continuum or cloud consumption model type of end customer, right? And what they were really seeing is, hey, I can't necessarily, they had customers and internal folks that when they would try to access some of that data from their existing cloud environment or try to find some of that data, they were actually having a difficult time locating it and managing it and being able to bring it back efficiently and effectively. And what they did was actually put in a newer product from EMC, an actual recent acquisition called Spanning, and what they actually found was they were able to not only protect their data in the cloud and make it secure and encrypted, but they were actually also eliminated the risk of losing that data because it was actually able to not only protect it in their Google Apps environment, but when they would do actual backups to on-premise or co-located secondary or backup storage, it would actually protect it there as well, and really saw differentiation in terms of having that data available and secure and accessible, and also re-accessible by the end users very quickly and efficiently. And so at the end of the day, all these companies, what they really saw was, hey, I can go consume and have data protection solutions from EMC in all of the continuum of where my applications and my data resides. I still get to leverage a brand and a name like EMC that's trusted, that has the support and the customer service, as well as the partner network that's out there to support all of the requirements around designing, developing, and managing these solutions for me. And that's how EMC continues to make sure that they're positioned and we're positioned for growth in the future, by really leveraging all of these different solutions, both hardware, software, but also leveraging their knowledge as well as the breadth of their capabilities in all these different consumption models across the continuum of data protection. So with that, I would be glad to help support this discussion, and be able to go say, hey, how do we go manage this and really develop this environment for you? Thank you very much for your attention.